Hello darlings, for today's video I'll be creating a half cut crease using the Profusion Smoky Eyes palette, and I'm also doing some dramatic brows as well. This video is a bit of a longer one because I am going more in depth in my process and focusing on the eyes and brows the most. The first thing I like to do is prime my face, which I've done off camera, and then I brush out my brows before applying any product to them. I'm starting to fill in my brows using the Mellow Cosmetics Brow Pomade in Chocolate. To make the brow pomade creamier and easier to apply, I'll add a drop of a primer, oil, or serum. I'm first brushing the product through the middle of my brow and then I'm sweeping it towards the tail. I like to follow the natural shape of my brow and apply the product similarly to how my hairs grow. For example, for the front of my brow, I create hair-like strokes upward to mimic my natural hair growth. Once I'm done filling in both of my brows, I take my spoolie and brush through them to blend out all of the products, and then I define their shape with some concealer. Using concealer really helps sharpen and define the lines of the brow, and then I just drag any of the excess product that's left on my brush onto my eyelid and blend that out with one of my Real Techniques mini sponges. I really love using concealer as my eye primer because personally I find that it works better than regular eye primers and it has more pigment to it, so it covers all of my discoloration.
Bit by bit, creative imagination began to build a new artwork.
Now it's time to start on my eyes. I'm using the Profusion Smoky Eyes palette and I'll be using these 6 shades to complete this look. The first eyeshadow I'm using is called Sugar. This is a white eyeshadow which I'm applying all over my eyes. I like to use a white or skin tone eyeshadow to set the concealer to prevent creasing before applying any other eyeshadows. The next eyeshadow I'm using is called Heavenly, and this is a light brown. I'm applying this to my crease using a fluffy brush. This will act as my transition shade and really help me blend out any of the eyeshadows I apply later. The third eyeshadow I'm applying is called Devious, which is a warm brown. I'm applying this to my crease as well, but I'm first applying it to my outer V and then dragging it towards my crease. I'm doing this because where you first place your brush is where most of the pigment will land, so it will be more pigmented in my outer V. I'm also making sure to apply this below where I applied the light brown to keep everything looking nice and blended. Once I've applied the warm brown shade, I'm going in with a fluffy brush and blending out the top of all of the eyeshadow. The next shade we're going to be using for this look is called Slick, and this is a smoky blue-gray shade. I'm applying this to my crease using a slightly smaller fluffy brush than before, and I'm also making sure to keep this below the 2 shades we previously applied. With this shade, I'm making sure to get near the inner corner of my eye so that when I apply the concealer for the half cut crease, it will still show along the edges. After applying slick, I'm blending out the top area of it using the same brush I used to apply devious with, but with no extra product. I'm then taking a clean fluffy brush and blending out the very top of all of the eyeshadows. To blend, I use a combination of sweeping and circular motions. Now it's time to cut my crease, and I'm just using the same Lancôme camouflage concealer that I used to carve out my brows. I start from the inner corner of my eye and create a half moon following my crease. Due to the fact that I have hooded eyes, I basically fake a crease above my natural one because my natural one will not be seen when I open my eyes. To help with this, sometimes I will keep my eyes open when applying the concealer and apply it to the very edge of my eye folds. Once I'm done creating the half cut crease, I'm using the same shade that I used to set the concealer before, called Sugar, to set the concealer now. Once the concealer has been set, I'm taking Slick on a precise brush and dragging that along the edges of the concealer to add even more dimension. I'm also applying more of this to my outer V and blending it with the concealer. The fifth shade I'm using is a light shimmery blue shade called Heroic, and I'm applying this to the outer edge of the concealer. I'm then grabbing the same brush that I used to apply Slick with and blending those two shades together. The sixth and final shade I'm using is called Celestial, which is a beautiful gold, and I'm applying this to the inner part of the concealer. A quick tip is that you can enhance any shimmery shade by first wetting your brush even with setting spray and then applying the product. Now that we are removing the tape, you can see why I applied it in the first place. It creates a very sharp line and even catches fallout. I've applied some lashes and foundation off camera, and now it's time to get started with the Pro Conceal and Contour Kit by Profusion Cosmetics. This kit includes some cream and powder products. It's important to know that you always start with cream products and then you set them with powder. I'm first applying the peach corrector underneath my eyes to help with the discoloration, and then I'm using the ivory concealer on my under eye area, my nose, and my chin. Next, I'm going in with the Cream Sculpt Contour shade, and I'm applying this to the hollows of my cheeks. I'm also contouring the edges of my face, including the forehead, temples, jawline, and even the bridge of my nose. The final cream shade I'm using is called Dreamy, which is a highlighter shade. Now it's time to blend all of that out, so I'm just taking one of my Real Techniques beauty sponges and using pouncing or dabbing like motions to blend that into the skin. Once all of those cream products are nice and blended, I'm using the beige highlight to set my face, and then I'm using the medium contour powder to contour my face some more. Now I'm going to be using a highlighter and blush from the Eye and Cheek palette by Profusion Cosmetics. I'm first applying the Diamonds highlighter, and then I'm applying the Lush blush. I like to apply highlighter before blush because I find that everything blends together much nicer that way. Back to eyes now. I'm using the No Intense Look eye pencil to darken the upper and lower waterlines, and then I'm taking the darkest shade we used today, which was Slick, and applying this to my lower lash line, and then I'm buffing this out with a fluffy brush. I'm then applying some Pacifica Stellar Gaze mascara and the same Diamonds highlight from the eye and cheek palette to my inner corner and brow bone. Finally, for lips, I'm using the Ofra Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick in Americano, and this is one of my favorite liquid lipstick formulas for sure. It's super creamy and long lasting. And that's the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please feel free to let me know what you'd like to see from me in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time!